Shabbat Shalom and Shana Tova. My name is Rabbi Sarah Daslow Paris. On behalf of myself and Cantor Marcia Addy, it is my honor to welcome you to Shabbat Shuvah services this evening. Shabbat Shuvah is the Shabbat that falls between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. It means the Shabbat of return, or the Shabbat of Teshuvah, of repentance. It's a time for each of us to take a little bit more, a few more moments for personal reflection as we approach Yom Kippur next Wednesday. We are going to begin with the blast of the shofar.
Okay, cross your fingers that I can get
You're going to do great, Cantor Addy.
I told you it's not consistent.
Thank you. She is a woman of many, many talents. Tonight, we are going to begin with our candle lighting blessing. As I light the candles, Cantor Addy, can you introduce all of the musicians who are joining us this evening?
Yes, I can. We have Eric Schoen and Dick Bright and Jerome Rawson, and what a beautiful crew tonight playing music with us. And we had a song for after the shofar. Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Return again, oh, return again, return to the land of your soul. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Tshuva, tshuva, return to the land of tshuva, 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 tshuva.
We're going to begin our Shabbat service tonight on page 10 with the candle lighting blessing. Please join with us. As a congregation, this Shabbat, we are very excited to celebrate the bar mitzvah of Nathaniel Vashal, who will be called to the Torah tomorrow morning. Oh. Sorry, didn't realize you were here, Nathaniel. Come on up.
Actually, your whole family can come.
Yeah, come on, the whole family come up. I'm so sorry. Rabbi Bauer is doing his bar mitzvah, so I have not had the pleasure of meeting him before. Nathaniel is going to light the candles to usher in Shabbat for his bar mitzvah.
Shabbat.
Thank you so much, Nathaniel. We will be calling you back up to lead us in Kiddush at the end of our service. Years ago, tomorrow, I was in 8th grade on September 11th, 2001. Living in Westchester, just north of New York City, I vividly remember my social studies teacher trepidatiously turning on the TV in our classroom after our principal made a cryptic announcement about something happening in the city, and how with that instant flick of a switch, our entire plan for the day, let alone the year, disappeared. I had many classmates whose parents worked in or near the towers, or who were first responders that were called into the city to help. And since that morning, I learned that that cryptic announcement I didn't understand was actually made several hours after the towers had been hit, as our school leadership had in the intervening time been frantically pulling students they already knew whose lives had just been tragically upended, so that they could be told privately and picked up to be with their families. I will never forget that the striking image we all know of firefighters raising a flag atop rubble, I'm guessing that many of you recognize it, was actually taken atop the fire truck of my classmate's father. Thankfully, he himself was able to escape the building collapse, but as we know all too well, so many others were not. I remember being terrified that day for my own father and grandfather, who themselves were in the city, though closer to Midtown, and how they both came home that day shaken in a way that I had never seen before. There was crying, there was hugging, and more than anything, there was numbness and disbelief. We each have our own 9/11 story. Many of you joining us tonight have very personal ties to the events of the day, including some of you who have yourselves lost loved ones. Though the events happened across the country from San Francisco, one of the flights was bound for our city, and no matter what coast you lived on, that day fundamentally changed us as a nation and as a global community. As someone who was personally still quite young that day, I know that it heavily influenced many of my formative years. How we related to other countries, how we traveled, how we engaged with people who were different from us. There is now an entire generation among us who has only lived in a post-9/11 world, a world in which airports need X-rays and metal detectors, and in which terrorist attacks are imminent and Islamophobia is a constant presence on the news. No matter what our age, we have all been influenced by the fallout and societal ramifications of that fateful tragedy. 20 years later, this Shabbat, we continue to mourn the lives lost and the individuals forever changed by those tragic events. Tonight, before we continue with our formal Shabbat liturgy, as we bask in the light of the Shabbat candles that our bar mitzvah just lit for us, I wanted to share a poem by Rabbi Zoe Klein-Miles to mark the 20th anniversary of 9/11. As I read, and as Cantor Addy and our musical team share a bit of comforting music with us, please take a moment to reflect on that day 20 years ago and mark this memorial for yourself. 2 Candles by Rabbi Zoe Klein-Miles. On Shabbat, we light 2 candles. One for remembering Shabbat, and one for observing Shabbat. Today, we light these 2 candles. This one for building 1, this one for building 2. This one for the Pentagon, this one for Pennsylvania. This one for all those on the American airline flights, and this one for all those on the United ones. This one for the hundreds of firefighters, and this one for the hundreds of police. This one for all the men, and this one for all the women. This one for all the girls, this one for all the boys. This one for our luck running out. This one for the New York skyline. This one for the walking wounded. This one for the critically wounded. this one for the survivors, this one for the dead, this one for building 1, this for building 2. We continue by welcoming the Shabbat angels into our kahal this evening on page 20 with Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem leShalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni leShalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzidchem leShalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
We continue with our call to worship, the Baruch Hu, on page 26. Please rise and join with us.
Yai rai rai, yai rai rai rai, yai rai 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 rai, yai rai rai, yai rai rai rai, yai rai 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 rai, yai rai 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 rai.
is twilight, the realm of in-between. And so our sages taught, pray in the moments when light and darkness touch. We are all twilight people, beyond categories and labels. May the sacred in-between of this evening suspend our certainties, soften our judgments, widen our vision. Let it illuminate our way to the God who transcends all boundaries and definitions. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on the twilight. We continue with the Shema on page 32.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam V'Olam. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך. Page 34. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת פעם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם לאלוהיכם אמת.
Eternal, watch over my small domain of light and shadow, those few people who share my love and all others upon this earth that sometimes shakes with thunder and reverberates with lightning. Help us to live with fear and conquer rage. Heal the hate that makes us kill and covers the ground with this Red Sea that only you can part, so we may walk through the wilderness to your realm of peace, where all men and women are one, and sing your blessed name. We continue with our prayer of gratitude and freedom, Micha Mocha on page 40.
Yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai la la la. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף פלא, מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע ים לפני משה ומרים, זה לי ענו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד.
We now take a moment in our service to send prayers of healing to all those in our midst and whose love we hold in our hearts, who are in need of healing of body, of spirit, or of spirit. If there is someone who you are thinking of this evening, please share their name with our community, either through chat on whatever platform you're joining us, or as my eyes meet yours in our sanctuary. This evening, as a congregation, we also pray for the healing of Frank Friedman, Rusty Holden, Lauren Knickerbocker, Sarah Ginsberg, Rabbi Beth, Susan Montana, David Ben Yom Tov, Libel Yosef Rack, Annette Russo, Trudy Salmin, Ilana Black, Edith Bat Ruth Isaiah, Joachim Ben Sarah Avraham, Marla Fields, Janice Berman, Miriam Rand, Mary Meyer Ryan, Ed Portnoy, Zoya Yakubovich, and Natalie Saltiel. May the one whose blessings are many heal and bless us and all those who are in the shadow of illness. May God's care bring us comfort and courage. May God's love open our eyes to the faith and compassion all around us. May the source of hope and renewal show us the way toward peace of mind, wholeness within, and strength from community. Source of blessings, as you inspired Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, inspire us too. Let us shine the soft light of human kindness in dark places. Let song, prayer, and silence be our instruments of care and healing. Let us all, the sick and the well together, be blessed, as God blessed Joshua, Chazak ve'emhatz, be strong and of good courage. And let us say, Amen. We continue on page 42 with the Hashkivenu.
Ashkifenu Adonai Eloheinu L'shalom, L'shalom, V'hamidenu Shomreinu L'chaim. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha.
About to begin the Amidah, the core prayer of our Shabbat service. It's going to be on page 48. This is the last time as a community that we will say the Amidah before Yom Kippur. And during this 10 days, we all focus a lot on asking forgiveness of those in our lives who we have wronged in the last year. As we take some moments for silent prayer and reflection after beginning the Amidah together, I would encourage you to take some time to begin forgiving yourself for things that have happened this past year. Self-forgiveness is just as important, if not even more important, than asking forgiveness from those around you. And I really think I would encourage us all to take those moments of reflection on our own actions this evening. We are going to be adding in 2 special blessings just for Shabbat Shuvah. They are in gray and bold in your prayer book on page 50 and page 52. Please rise and join with us on page 48.
Adonai, Adonai, Sefatai tiftach, Ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, Adonai, Sefatai tiftach, Ufi yagid tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora Ha'elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim וכל הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. זוכרנו לחיים, מלך חפץ בחיים, וכותבנו בספר החיים, למענך אלוהים חיים, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה, אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה. מי כמוך אל הרחמים, זוכר יצוריו לחיים ברחמים, ונאמן אתה להיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל.
Please take a few moments for silent prayer and reflection. When you have finished your meditations, you may be seated.
We're on page 70 for Shalom Rav. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov beinecha levarech et amcha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim
Way back when, there were 2 times a year that rabbis traditionally preached to their congregation. One was the Shabbat Hagadol before Pesach, and the other was Shabbat Shuvah right before Yom Kippur. This Shabbat, we are so honored to have our scholar in residence, Rabbi Larry Kushner, here to share some words of Torah with us.
Before we moved out to San Francisco 20 years ago, Karen and I were on the faculty of Semester at Sea, along with 4 dozen other faculty members and families, and 600 college juniors from all over the country. We sailed around the world. When we were at sea, I taught 3 college courses. When we weren't, we cruised up the Amazon, slept in a non-electrified game compound in Africa, watched them cremate bodies on the Ganges, walked on the Great Wall of China, slept in a Buddhist monastery in Japan. I told the dean who hired me, "You throw one hell of a party." While we were aboard ship, even though it was over 20 years ago, we were able to send and receive email through the ship's now primitive satellite uplink. This was especially important because our voyage coincided with trying to sell our home back in Boston. About 2 weeks after our house went on the market, we were somewhere in the Andaman Sea. For those of you who don't subscribe to National Geographic, It's between India and Malaysia. And during the most sensitive hours of our negotiations, that satellite uplink, our only connection with our Caldwell banker realtor on literally the other side of the world, went down. Zero communication, garnished. I sprinted up 3 decks to the no admittance radio man's office, but there was nothing he could do but assure us that we'd be back online in an hour at the most. But he was wrong. It took 72 hours, 3 entire days. I am not making this up. And then, when communication was finally restored, we received 4 messages from our realtor in a row, all at once. And each one had the same subject line: urgent. The first one read, "A solid offer has come in, but it's lower than your asking price. I know you're anxious to sell, but since there have been no other offers, advise you come back with a counter offer." Immediately below that, on the same printer sheet of incoming messages, was a second email from our realtor. But it was posted 11 hours later. It read, "Haven't heard from you. Assume you're standing firm." Below that, from a day later still, was a third message. It read, "Hold everything. Another buyer has come forward. We may have a bidding war here. Suggest you do not counter the first offer." And then below that was a fourth message, posted yet another day later. "Congratulations! You sold your house way above your asking price. You guys have nerves of steel." Sure, I thought, if I'd only known, I would have brought a cardiologist with me. My point here is that getting everything all at once can be just plain terrifying. This thing has 3 parts. You just heard the first one. The hymn Adon Olam, near the beginning of the morning liturgy, contains a lot of serious Jewish theology. But because we only sing it, Jews forget what the words mean. The 4th verse says, "V'hu haya v'hu hoveh v'yehyeh b'tifara." God was, God is, God will be. Think about that for a moment. If God be eternal, then for God, time is irrelevant. God can't remember anything, nor dream of the future. For God, it's all simply now. God experiences everything all at once. Let me try it with a metaphor. If you're over 25, you'll know what I'm talking about right away. For those of you who aren't, let me explain. A long, long, long time ago, instead of printing photos on a printer, people occasionally recorded them on transparent film, Kodachrome. Each image came framed in a little 2-inch square piece of cardboard. We called them slides. And if you owned a projector, you could shine a sequence of them on a screen. It was called a slide show. Then you could watch an excruciatingly boring series of still images ad seriatim portraying, for instance, your host's summer vacation to France. And here's me standing in front of the Eiffel Tower. Back to theology. So imagine that we have slides, say, of your wedding. Depending on how the marriage turns out, this might be beautiful or, God forbid, horrific. Or a slide, perhaps, about the birth of a child. Suppose someone you love has died, and a rude guest takes slides of the funeral. Don't moan. I had to stop a funeral once to get a guy to put his camera down. That would surely evoke grief. Imagine a slide for everything. You get the idea? It goes on and on. And that would be merely talking about one person's life, yours. Now, suppose you're God. You remember the guy who's beyond time. God would be the one for whom all the slides are stacked one on top of another, simultaneously all visible. That could be terrible. You're unable to cry because you know you will also laugh. You cannot feel happiness, for you know the price that will be paid. The joy contains the sadness, the joy. Make it go away. And that, my friends, I believe, is why the Torah warns that you cannot see God and live. Without time, you get everything all at once. Oh, I almost forgot. Except for the few moments before you die, if you choose, you can get everything all at once without being dead. We Jews even have a special day for it, Yom Kippur. In 6 days, time will cease to exist. The paralysis of mirthless wonder, the shame for wasting so much of our lives. We will gather here in person or mysteriously through our Zoom screens to give one another support and succor as we try to comprehend everything in our lives all at once. The world, our plans, our lives may all be going to hell in a handbasket. But at least we do have one another. All of us are trying as best we can to comprehend everything all at once. And of course, that is what it means to stand before God. This brings me to part 3. I began with an ocean-crossing ship, so I'll finish with the band on the Titanic. Their resolution to continue playing amidst the chaos has attained almost mythic status. I am also puzzled that their continued music making while the great ship went down is frequently misunderstood as an act of futility. A string quartet playing Schubert while the world falls apart. A member of my former congregation used to joke that the only difference between his aging mother's finances and the Titanic was that the Titanic had a band. I am now convinced that the musicians' decision to continue playing despite their obvious fate is really a gesture of mutual respect, dignity, even piety. Everyone was going to die. The only remaining operative question now was, how? Well, I cannot corroborate this yet. I do have it from a reliable source that the violist, or whoever it was, who kept the band playing in a strange but surely unmistakable gesture of respect, was apparently the only non-first-class person buried among the first-class passengers. Whether or not this is accurate, the line that the film's director, James Cameron, gives him in the movie belongs in the Yom Kippur liturgy. Some of you may remember it, that scene as it was portrayed in the 1997 film Titanic. All the lifeboats are either gone or full. The ship has begun to list. Deck chairs begin to slide. Passengers are running this way and that, screaming in terror, and the band members agree it's time to stop playing. They start to put away their instruments, but then it dawns on, I think it was the violist, that there was nowhere to go. In such a situation, the only thing to do is the only thing you know how to do. And if you happen to be a musician, that means you go on making music as best you can. So the violist turns back to the ensemble and offers one of the great movie lines of all time. Through tears, picking up his instrument, with all humility, dignity, and piety, he says, "Gentlemen, it's been a privilege playing with you tonight." It occurs to me that that may just about all any of us ever get to say. It's been a privilege playing with you. Would that we too could speak those words, but without the threat of imminent death, to live in such a way as to be able to honestly speak those words to the other members of the band with whom we come into contact day after day after day. We are all musicians in the ship's band. The boat may not be sinking, but like it or not, we are all dying. This sobering Yom Kippur realization can make us run wild with terror, just like most of the people aboard the Titanic. Or, as with the klezmorim, the musicians, it can lend dignity, grace, and beauty to the music we play. For truth be told, we are all doing the very best we can at what may finally be the only thing we know how to do. What a holy place it will be. What an extraordinary orchestra. So much trust. We whisper to one another, "It's been a privilege playing with you."
Thank you so much, as always, Rabbi Kushner, for your words of wisdom. We are going to continue our service this evening on page 78 with the Aleinu. Please rise and join with us.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
You may be seated. We have come to the part of our service where our thoughts turn to those who are no longer with us living on this earth. It can be very difficult to have a yard site that is observed between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur amidst all of the heaviness of this season. When my own grandfather died between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur a number of years ago, a rabbi taught me the following that brought me comfort, and I hope it can bring some mourners comfort this evening. There's an old teaching that it is actually the holiest souls that pass away between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, as we are all awaiting judgment to be sealed for life for the following year. Those who know that their fates are not meant to be a part of the next year hang on, and who are merit the most holiness in the world, bless us with their presence until the very, very last moment when that book is being sealed for the following year. This evening, we are particularly observing the yard sites of those who have died in the last 30 days: Robert Bob Gordon, Rabbi Richard Hirsch, Dorian Ruth Silverstein, Marilyn Benioff, Joe Whalen, Cindy Agris Bowman, Irada Markova, Samuel Friedman, Eleanor Maisie Cohen, Sue Siegel, and Phil Schapp. In addition, we recognize the yard sites of the following members of our community and their loved ones: Richard Agaloff, David Altman, Golda Oderberg Altman, Madzia Genisla Altman, Marek Altman, Victorine Bailey, Daniel Torres Barba, Ahava Bass, Greta Bauer, Gretchen Berggren, Ben Blum, John M. Branston, Alice Brody, Sumner Burrows, Esther Cohen, Alfredo Denola, Henry Donner, Marion Block Edelstein, Tara Eckstein, Anne Marie Erlinger, Claire Finkel, Tony Foley, Joyce Fudem, Lawrence Ginocchio, Harold Goldman, Leonard Goody, Earl Grenitz, Mark Haas, Stephen Hirsch, Abraham Hoffman, Hermine Jacobs, Abraham Joselo, Barbara Kahn Gardner, Cecile Hopt Kaufman, Dan Keith, Balbina Weisbard Koplowitz, Pearl Levine, Matthew Levitt, Janet Leibowitz, Celia Linder, Eric Livingston, Irving Manber, Michael Middleman, Richard Pollock, Joseph Charles Portnoff, Simon Pressler, Thomas Quinance, Dr. Ira Rashkoff, Crendell Redder, Wilma Rogalski, Ruth Rolando, Jacob Rosenberg, Julius Salzman, Ruth D.G. Schutz, Elizabeth Schwenninger, Dorothy Mitchell Shapiro, Norman Shapiro, Leon Scheinfeld, Michael Scheinfield, Bruce Tech, Moisha Ehrman, Dorothy Velker, Nora C. Ward, Fanny Whites, Philip Wolf, Dorothy Zucker-Candell, and Cantor Reuben R. Rinder, who served this congregation from 1913 to 1959. If you have a loved one who is on your mind this evening, whose name you would like to share with the community, please do so either in the chat on whatever platform you are joining us or as my eyes meet yours in our sanctuary. If it is your custom, please rise and join together with the mourners on page 86. We will be adding a few extra words for Shabbat Shuvah this evening. Again, they are bolded in gray. Please join with me. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah. V'yalma divrach Yerutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael Bagala uvizman kariv vimru amen. Yehei shmei rabba mevorach leolam umei omaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yithaleh v'yithalal shemei dekudesha brichu. Le'ela min chol birchata v'shirata. Le'ela u'le'ela min chol birchata v'shirata. Tushbachata v'nechamata damiram bi'alma vimru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom b'romav, hu ya'aseh shalom, v'al kol Yisrael, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'imru, amen. Zichronam livracha, may all of their memories always be a blessing.
V'imru, V'imru, amen. V'imru, 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 amen.
I just saw you all get so comfortable and sit down. We love to rise together if you're able. And for our closing song together, an Oseh Shalom that we especially dedicate to people who have lost somebody in these days. This is their yard site.
Oseh Shalom b'romav, hu yaseh Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Amen. Oseh Shalom b'romav, hu yaseh Shalom aleinu ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'imru, imru, amen. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru Amen. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Aleinu ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru Amen.
If you came with somebody,
Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru Amen. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Aleinu ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru Amen.
that's a beautiful melody written by Jerome, our piano player. Thank you,
Wonderful.
Jerome.
To end our services this evening, I call back up our bar mitzvah Nathaniel to lead us in the Shabbat Kiddush and Motzi. Our only announcement this evening is that Yom Kippur is this coming week, and we hope that you will join us either virtually or in person. Our website has all of the information about our services. The Kiddush is on page 12 if you would like to follow along.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kichanu b'mitzvotav, v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho, be'ahava u'ratzon hinchilanu. Zikaron lema'aseh Bereshit, ki hu yom techilah, lemikra kodesh, zecher letziat Mitzrayim, ki banu v'acharta, v'tanu kidashta, likol Shabbat kodshecha, ahava u'ratzon, kinchaltanu, Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh haShabbat lechaim.
And you're going to, well,
Symbolically drink.
Okay.
Exactly. And if you
Symbolic.
could lift up our challah for us to help us end services.
and then we're going to uncover it because now the challah is ready to be seen.
Our beautiful round challah for this special time of year.
Baruch atah
Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz, b'te'avon.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, Shana Tova, Gemar Chatima Tova. We hope to see you back here with us for another Shabbat or for Yom Kippur on Wednesday.
Thank you to our beautiful musicians tonight. And also special thank you to Rabbi Kushner who filled us with wisdom tonight. Thank you.